All right, we'll start with roll call. Chair Kennedy,
Here.
Vice Chair Goodman,
Here.
Mike Fan,
Here.
Jeffrey Miller,
Here.
Gregory Riordan,
Present.
Corey Suttles,
Here.
Roger Thomas.
Here.
All right, wonderful. Everybody's here. So we'll start with approval of the minutes from October 1st, 2025.
Can we get a motion?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, motion carries.
All right. So to start off with, we were supposed to have a study session next week, and due to some unforeseen challenges in the preparation of materials, the consultant requires additional time to ensure the information is complete and accurate. We want to make sure the committee has the best possible data to work from, as well as the council. So the study session, we're possibly going to look at January, but it may not be until May. So we are working through some challenges on that end, and we'll be keeping everyone updated as those progress. So that's what I have right now.
Well, hang on a second. We were given a homework assignment by council. Is that what you're talking about, or are we able to do that on our own?
So the council study session was to have the consultant come and discuss the housing plan and implementation plan based off of the housing needs assessment that they did. They were also going to bring the financial analysis as well. They had the financial analysis prepared, but not the housing plan and implementation plan to bring. And unfortunately, it didn't meet the deadline to have it on the agenda. And that was the main thing on the agenda. That was just going to be, the financial analysis was just going to be supplemental material for that. So they were not quite ready for the session. So we had to postpone.
So we're not able to complete our task? I'm talking about employee costs lost if they leave versus what incentives are costing. That's what we were assigned to do.
Yes, and that was all going to be supplemental material for the housing plan and housing needs assessment discussion next week. But we needed the consultant to have all of their material prepared, and they unfortunately weren't able to meet our deadlines. So though we do have a lot of that, we can't bring it forward because it was just supplemental material to that discussion. So we will be able to bring it forward when they come back, but we'll keep everybody updated on when that is.
Is this something that they can email to us in lieu of the timing being in the year?
So they should be able to get it out to the committee, but for them to bring it to council, which is really the next step, is going to be delayed.
Did you say maybe January, but it could be as late as May?
Yes, sir.
And
So
explain that.
January is a possibility if another item is canceled. If it's not canceled, then the next available study session that we could put something on is May. So everything else is booked out until May. So Michael and I will be having a discussion with the state about that as well and letting them know what occurred this week. But
Before we move on, I got to say this. We were asked to prepare this. Lois asked for it. I think it was a legitimate request. And I think if we wait till May to answer, it really takes the teeth out of this committee. I really think it behooves us to at least provide her with that part of it expeditiously and not be 5 months from now. That's ridiculous.
so we could provide it via email. It just can't come to a study session before then. So yeah, we could provide it to council via email and the committee as well. But we need to talk to the consultant and actually make sure that their ducks are in the rows that they need to be so that we can provide that information.
And is a study session the only vehicle that we have available to move it forward? Or are there any other special session or any other meetings or ways that we could move it forward?
If it came on a voting session, but then it would need some sort of voting or it would just be a presentation, those are usually much shorter. So for the housing plan and implementation plan, I imagine that council's going to want to have quite a bit of discussion, especially because it's coming from a third-party consultant. They might advise different paths than this committee did during the policy because they're looking at everything nationwide too and things that don't just align with our community but other communities as well. So it may be more of a discussion than would fit into a voting session. If council wanted to have a special meeting, they could. We would just need to make sure that the consultant is actually ready for that.
Hey, I'm not piling on, Amber. I know you're just the messenger, so thank you. Are we saying we can't take any further action or do anything progressive until that study session is complete? Or can this group identify value we can bring between now and the next study session?
So this committee can absolutely, we still have some things that this committee can do. We can work on the drafts of the educational pamphlets. The consultant was going to work on that, but I think we'll take that off of their plate so that they can focus on the housing plan. The housing plan and implementation plan is part of the grant that we received from the state. So that does need to go forward at some point for the funds that we were given for that. But there are things that this committee can do. We actually have a council onboarding today. So hopefully between the council onboarding today and our strategic plan session with them in January, at January 20th and 21st, they'll hopefully give some direction too, because workforce housing is in the previous strategic plan. We'll see where they want to go and what direction they want to go on that. So we'll absolutely have updates and things that this committee can do. It just won't be related to the housing plan or implementation plan that was aligned with the grant. That was a really long answer. Did that answer your question?
No, I think that's, I received that as hopeful, other than waiting till May. So no, that's good. Thank you.
So, and on the positive note of all of this, the committee did take the policy. The policy was approved as a framework, so that can still be built out and we can still work on that. The housing plan and implementation plan were supposed to be separate tracks brought by the consultant as a third-party entity. So the committee still functions as the committee functions. It's just that path that was the main discussion for next Tuesday, that's on hold. So this committee still gets to do their tasks and look at other ways we can impact outreach, community outreach, town halls, things like that.
So again, I don't want to, I know you're just the messenger, so sorry. So it's postponed because the consultant did not get done?
Correct.
So when do they anticipate being done?
We plan on having a phone call about that today.
Okay. And then question number 2 is what I heard from council the other day was a concern on cost. And so as they evaluate cost, I believe that if they're not doing this, I think they need to look at 2 things. What the future costs would be to implement, and that could be something as simple as the additional staffing needed for implementation, but also what the current cost is from HR. I think what I heard from council was we're losing firemen, we're losing policemen. In fact, I think what was specifically stated was we spend $100,000 to train a new policeman, and within no time they're leaving our city, partially because it's so difficult to afford to live here. So I think there needs to be 2 sides of that cost analysis. Number 1, what future cost is, but also what it's currently costing us not having affordable housing in this community, specifically for the stakeholder, the city of Prescott.
Absolutely, and Randy actually beat you to that. So we did ask them to do a supplemental financial analysis that fulfills what council's looking for as well. We asked them to look at the policy and how that could cost, but also look at turnover costs and things like that. So that is supposed to be all incorporated into that as well. And that was going to be separate, but supplemental to the housing plan and implementation plan as what council requested, as well as supporting documentation of why it's important. So that is all part of that. if we can bring that sooner, we will. Again, I have a conversation with the consultant, hopefully planned today, and we'll go through that. And if I can get that out to the committee and council sooner, I will get it out sooner. Sorry. I will get it out sooner than when the study session will happen. I just don't know if it'll be in a week or two. So I just have to find out from them and make sure that they're ready to go.
Okay, great. And I don't want to, I want to make sure, while it's easy to point out police and fire because of safety issues, health issues are just as important. So the turnover for public works staff is just as important. That guy that drives the snowplow in the middle of the night. We lose critical people that we depend on. That it needs to be a complete look at city staff and saying what are we losing, and public works is huge.
Randy beat you to that too. So that's in there too. He had suggested, I think there were 4 different ones: police, fire, public works, I think maybe a rec services person. So we were going to look at all of those different aspects too. And with those ranges, that will hopefully also cover the ranges for, and I don't know the hiring cost or anything for nurses, doctors, but they're all in the same pay scale area, which will show the struggle that they're all having too. So, yep, hope to have all of that to you soon.
I'm confused as why we're not doing that in-house here. You and I talked about this. Why is a consultant who's not here, are we relying on them to gather this information? I agree with what Mike said, of course, 100%. Our department heads know these numbers. They work here. We're here. Why are we not broaching this ourselves, unless it's not within our scope of work? Why are we not broaching this ourselves and presenting that to council so they can review what it's costing us to lose employees? We know these numbers. And this is all going to come down to money, you guys. You all know that. It feels good to do this or that. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to dough. So if we can show them a savings, or at least what it's costing them to lose personnel, then we can work on the savings side of it. But we have the ability to do that in-house. Why are we farming that out?
So we compiled numbers and gave them to the consultant to draw up a financial analysis, a professional financial analysis. So we do have the numbers. We gave it to them to actually do that financial analysis because we don't always have the staff in-house to actually compile that. And for them, they are generally subject matter experts, so they usually can compile that pretty fast. So we did provide them our numbers that we have. And he sent me something last night. I just have to check on what it fully says and make sure it incorporates everything. It just wasn't in time to bring it to you guys, to bring it to council. So, but it's also not the full housing plan and implementation plan that they were supposed to bring to council. So, but we did provide them the numbers that we had in-house.
Amber, do they have a contractual deadline to have this plan done?
That's something we're going to talk about. They were notified in April that we were supposed to have the study session. We had been checking in with them quite often, and I'm not sure what happened, but something got confused on their end of what exactly they were supposed to be bringing next week. So we are working to clarify that and make sure that they are following the RFP that they had been contracted for.
Well, I'd like to push it for our January meeting of this committee that we have those numbers, because I saw them on your computer. We have them, and we can. It may not be spot on, but it'll be within a realm that we could at least discuss and put it in a presentable form, so that I feel like we're really falling flat on our face. When we were directly asked to provide some information, and we're talking about May or April or whatever you said, that's ridiculous.
Well, and again, so we can absolutely do that for January and make sure that information's here in January for this meeting. And then we can send it to council via email. It's just for when we can get on a public study session to have council talk about it as a whole, that it'll be delayed. So we can provide it to them sooner so they can see that it isn't falling through the cracks. And if they watch this meeting, they'll know that we have been working with the consultant to do it. It just wasn't provided to us in the deadlines that we needed it to be for the study session next week.
So Amber, I trust you'll let us know what you find out from them today, and we'll send it to us via email as soon as we have it. Okay. Are there any other questions on this topic?
I think I would just like to say, just for record, that aside from police and firemen and the medical staff, I just lost an employee that's moving away from the city, and I know one of my other employees is looking to move too. And so this is affecting small business, and there's not a huge pool of professionals in such a small city for us to pull from. So I have to, go down to Phoenix, go down to Tucson, and see if I can recruit and bring people in. And so I have to really sell Prescott to other people to bring staff in. And it's detrimental for us to lose people, because the training and the investment that we put into our employees really hurts small business when we lose them, especially for things that we can't control. So I would like to echo what everybody I think here is expressing, is that we do feel that there's more urgency to this, and that it's something that we would hope doesn't get pushed to May, because I feel like we lose a lot of momentum. And it's something that is really needed, so that we can keep a thriving community and keep people moving in, and make it easier to sell Prescott to people, to bring people here.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Rather than yell at you, I'd like to see one of the representatives come, because I don't know what we're paying these guys, but it's 6 figures. They need to get their job done, period. Sorry. But give me their number. I'll call them.
That's okay. I'll have a phone call with them today, and I'll provide an update to the committee, and we'll go from there.
Hey, just a slight editorial, right? I mean, we've received some disappointing news. I'll speak for myself. Sounds like I'm not alone. But it's still going to be on us to continue to move forward and do what we can do, whether we get on the January study session or not. So let's make sure that collectively we're walking out saying that, even though it's disappointing, we're not going to allow this thing to die on the vine because of, whatever things are outside of our calendar control. So, yeah, it stinks a little bit, but this group still has the opportunity to make stuff happen. So let's make sure we're staying committed there.
That's perfect timing. I wanted to ask if at the next meeting we could review our agreed upon goals and where we were at with priority on what, kind of the next steps, and whether we need to reorder any of those, if we still agree that that's the order that the committee feels we want to tackle the next items on our list.
We can definitely do that, along with bringing the financial analysis. I think that would be really good, and starting the new year off with a good, fresh move forward. So another option that was suggested, and I don't know, we'll have to see how council feels about this, but we could look at doing a joint workforce housing committee and council meeting and invite them to one of our meetings too. So we'll look at that avenue as well and see if we can get that even sooner.
Okay, so do we have anything else on the agenda, or is that it?
I have some good news on staff updates and future agenda items.
Yay!
So some exciting news. We do have a new council, not a full new council, but 4 new members. They're all in council onboarding today, and that's why our new council liaison, Mr. Patrick Grady, Councilman Patrick Grady, is not here today. But he is very excited to start working as the council liaison with this committee and being here to support on the council side. So that's some exciting news. And then, yes, for the next agenda meeting, we will go through goals and see some boxes we've already checked off as you guys have done your work, and then see what's next on that, as well as bringing the financial analysis. And I will talk to the consultant and the mayor and mayor pro tem and see if we can bring that to one of our meetings sooner as maybe a joint meeting.
Jeff, you brought up a good point about your private industry. We know small business is super important. I don't know how we could associate a number for small business. Maybe you could help us with that. What it costs. You said it costs you money when you lose these people. We're talking about public employees on our analysis that she's prepared, but what about private enterprise? Can you do that? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can put some math behind it. It's all very quantifiable, how much we spend on hiring, how much we spend on our training programs, and how long it takes for, especially for the way that the architecture industry works. We have to train them on programs and all the things that we do. And so there's like a period where, we're basically, losing money on the employee until it gets to a certain point. And I can put some math behind that. That's not a problem.
That'd be awesome. And Amber, don't forget, with our deal, it's not just the cost of training that employee, it's the cost of testing, recruiting, interviewing, all that stuff, drug testing. I have a friend that just got hired by the city. So that all has an associated cost that we lose too.
Yep. And our HR was able to provide all of that information that we were going to incorporate.
Can I add something? As far as an incentive, something I just thought about within the last month as an incentive, would there be any way possible that when they're building this structure, that if they were to buy the materials in the city of Prescott, that they'd be charged no sales tax?
I will have to ask someone who has a lot more experience on that than I do, but I can ask.
I just thought that would probably be a win-win, like if you're a local carpet dealer, and I use a carpet dealer here in Prescott, that if that person, you go to them, it's a city business, and, the city wouldn't be losing any money per se, they just wouldn't be getting it on the sales tax, but, that was just an idea I had.
And Chelsea, I don't know if you know, but I think for all of our taxes in the city, it goes to the state and then they send us the money. So I don't know, but I'll get some clarification on that and see if there is any flexibility there.
Yeah, your BIN number's all through the state. I have one. So I pay them and then it recirculates back. Sort of like impact fees.
Well, and it might, just thinking about the whole thing of sales tax with 478, which was the tax that was put in to help public safety. If we remove that, I don't know if that would affect that if for certain businesses. So we'd have to look into that a bit more of a deep dive to see pros and cons of it, if it's doable and if there's any consequences if we did it.
I just thought it'd be more of an incentive, or I should say another incentive for them to go with the program.
Personally, I like that out of the box thinking. That's cool.
Well, thank you, Amber, for the updates. And I just want to say, I know this was a little disappointing, but let's remember that we had a really big win, I think, for the committee and for the mission of the work that we're doing with the results of the last council session, and really having a roadmap now for policy language and all of the opportunities that provides our community. So good job, everybody who's been involved in this, and a shout out to all of our prior committee members who were involved and all of the staff who've poured in a lot of time. So thank you all.
You all did all the hard work, and I echo that to this committee and to previous committee members. Absolutely, you were all the reason that passed, and it is just the beginning of your guys' work. So I know you thought that you got a break, but you don't.
Well, does anyone have any other thoughts for next meetings to consider?
Do we want to talk about future agenda items? I mean, should we start talking about some low-lying fruit? And one thing that comes to my mind is down payment assistance. We've talked about that for, I don't know, a year and a half or more, on whether it's something that is easy to implement and frankly doesn't cost the city anything, because that money comes back to the city when that house is sold. So, I mean, there's some things that we can do.
I agree. And I think the framework of that priority list would help us in that next conversation to look at down payment assistance and all the other things we have on that list. I feel like I need a refresher personally because I know there was a lot there.
Perfect. We can do that. And I'll ask him if our HR director is available because down payment assistance would ultimately go through our HR department of probably managing that. So I'll see if he's available and if he's had any contacts in other municipalities who have worked successfully with that and how they got it started as well.
Is Councilman Grady going to come to our next meeting in January? And if so, I'd like to spend a little time just kind of getting to know him, you know.
He does plan to. I don't know if the holidays, if he has anything coming up, but he does plan to. He was actually really bummed he wasn't able to be here today, but we have a very busy day packed for him today.
What I mean is like his background. I'm sure he's got an extensive background in something. Be nice to know what it is. I don't know. Mike's laughing. He knows him. I guess I don't. So I'd like to find out.
Absolutely. We'll do an introduction of him and I'll let him share a lot more, but he does have a lot of experience municipality-wise in economic development and community development. So I'll let him go into a lot of detail on that, but I think he's going to be an absolutely wonderful addition to this committee and have some great insight.
Well, thank you, everyone. I guess if there are no other items to discuss, we will adjourn the meeting, last meeting of 2025.
So Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. And you will get emails from me. Don't worry.
Thank you.